like to call the meeting to order. Mrs. Burns, roll call.
Mr. Sullivan?
Present.
Mr. Feather?
Present.
Mr. Allen?
Present.
Mrs. Bowman is not absent with notice. Ms. Boyle?
Here.
Mrs. Hallenbeck?
Present.
Mr. Kovitz?
Here.
Mr. Marrington?
Here.
Mr. Parentano?
Present. Present.
The quorum is present.
Thank you. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The board met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss matters of employment, to review issues related to labor relations, and to consult with an attorney in connection with potential or current litigation. In addition, the board also met on September 11th in an executive session to discuss matters of employment. The district mission statement: the Neshaminy community builds futures by empowering each child to become a productive citizen and a lifelong learner. Mrs. Burns, any announcements?
No announcements.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, Superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. We've got 9,000 students back in action here. It was a hot start for sure. We had some heavy, difficult days in terms of weather, but our schools opened up very smoothly thanks to a lot of cooperation and hard work on the part of all the individuals here within our buildings, and especially our drivers. I know our transportation people were thanked last week, I think it was, at the Carl Sandburg building for the work they do there, but really across the board, extra thanks, because that's a tough 95-degree day to be inside a bus unair conditioned with all of our friends, and we did real well. Our kids got here and had a nice start to the school year, and things are off and running. So thank you, everyone. We have Constitution Day coming up. I just thought it was interesting to note that though we observe it in all of our schools, I wanted to highlight the fact that here at Maple Point and certainly at other schools as well, we have a lot of community connections. So Maple Point's going to have Chief Bartarola out from Middletown Township, PA Senator Tommy Tomlinson, PA Rep Frank Farry, and local supervisor Amy Strauss as part of the programs for the students here. And so that working with our local representatives is really important for us. And so that's nice for our students to see that happen as well. Back to school nights start. Actually, Tawanka's a two-night event, so tonight and tomorrow at Tawanka, but elementary schools are Thursday of this week, middle schools are Thursday of next week, high schools Thursday of the following, the 27th, the last Thursday, I guess it is. Our music boosters hosted their 20th annual back-to-school picnic, a nice event on the lawn outside, a good opportunity to celebrate the end of a successful band camp, and so congratulations to them, and we wish them good luck with their season as they move through this fall. We have a college fair at the high school, sponsored by the National Honor Society. That event's going to be Monday, September 24th. The time of that is 6 o'clock. The board is going to do some work with the county in terms of an advocacy effort, in terms of leveraging a school voice here at the local level, at the state level. And so I just wanted to point out that this new advocacy committee for education is something that the board's excited to get involved with, and the administration will support that effort as well. Just wanted to highlight a couple of acting principals that we have in the district this year, helping us start off the new school year for some existing vacancies. But while we wait to fill them, Don Palmer is helping us at Tawanka as an acting principal, and Andre Modica is helping as acting principal at Fertibar. We have acting assistant principals at the middle school level, Tim Hunt and Neil French. Tim Hunt is at Pequessing and Neil French at Maple Point. I thank all of them for the help that they've provided to help us start in those buildings as successfully as we have. And we do, again, welcome Mr. Staub. A high school principal has welcomed all the students in. We had two nice days where our freshmen came to be greeted to the building, and Mr. Staub informed them he was probably just as nervous as them, being new to his building there as well. And so it's a good start for everybody. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. On board docs for this month, there's a report from the Human Resources Department, so if anyone's interested, please log on and read the report. We also have a presentation tonight from Stand Up Neshaminy regarding opioid awareness, and it'll be presented by Ms. Jan King.
Do that. That's helpful. Well, hello and good evening to all. Some I know, some faces that I haven't seen in a long time. But I wanted to share with you something that is near and dear to my heart, as well as so many within our district. The opioid crisis has been, as we all know, our community is suffering greatly. And we want to make sure that we are getting the information out, getting as many resources out to as many people as we can, as well as connecting it to our curriculum and making sure that what we're teaching is relevant, it's new, and we're able to connect not just with our kids, but with our parents. So in the fall of 2017, a group of teachers, myself as one, got together here at Maple Point, and we thought, why don't we look at a small program that we could put together to try to help the kids at Maple Point? So after the first meeting, I looked at all of them and said, this is just global for this district, and we really need to span out a bit to all of our schools. So we met with Mr. Jones and Mr. Devlin and a few of the other administrators, brought some teachers and community members in, and we came up with a program called Stand Up Neshaminy. It took us weeks to come up with a name because it's very difficult to come up with something new and catchy. So today is your rollout, or our first time that we are publicly rolling out our hashtag Stand Up Neshaminy program. We rolled it out in June to our staff, both elementary and secondary staff had a 3-hour presentation. It was received incredibly well. I thought when you go to these programs about opiates, a lot of people sit back and go, this has nothing to do with me. Or if you are involved in the program, you go in and you're preaching to a choir of people that understand. So when I was tasked with this program, I knew I was going to have 350 people in front of me, and some thought that this didn't have to do with them. They're teaching, that this is not important to them, and when they left after 3 hours, they realized how important our jobs as teachers are and how we can connect. So with that, Chris is going, I have to keep monitoring to Chris, is going to show us our new website. We have our own URL. It's called standupneshaminy.org. Anyone can go. It's a constant website that is going to be updated with new videos. One of the things we were concerned about is if you have a program after school, an evening, that type of thing, a lot of people won't come. It might be that you're going to identify their child, and they might not want to come and do that. So what we decided to do is make a series of videos that we can send out in short snippets, 3 to 5 minutes. We can send them out through social media, through email, through our health classes, and get information to people and possibly start having them share the word so that we stomp the stigma of addiction and step into the light. So if you can, I don't know if you can see what Chris is showing behind me, but the next piece that we came up with was, how do we do this? And then we just can't start sending videos out. People are going to be like, what are you doing? So we came up with a short 1.5-minute video that talks about what this program is and how it started.
Our country is facing an unprecedented crisis.
The tragedy of opioid abuse cuts across all groups and cultures.
Rich and poor, young and old,
Children and parents,
city and suburbs.
This is not something that just happens somewhere else.
The tragedy of addiction is happening right here in Bucks County.
Right here in Neshaminy.
It is affecting our community,
Our neighbors.
Our friends.
And our own families.
We can't wait any longer.
It's time for action. We are Stand Up Neshaminy, a diverse group dedicated to taking the tragedy of opiate abuse out of the shadows.
Finding help.
Providing good information.
Sharing resources.
Connecting those that need help with the help they need.
The future of our children.
And our entire community is at stake.
This is serious.
This is happening now. We cannot wait.
We are Stand Up Neshaminy.
Will you stand up with us?
That was our first video, and that is the first one that is being sent out so that people get an idea of what Stand Up Neshaminy is and how they can be part of that. Following that, we needed to expand. We didn't want to make a one and done. Yes, we made this group, and now we're just going to sit back on our laurels. So this group has met continually since the beginning of 2017. We've added more and more people. When the program rolled out in June, teachers from every school were coming up and saying, I need to be part of this. I want to be the liaison in your building. We need to keep this message going. So it almost became like it had legs. And all of a sudden, so many people were getting the idea that we can all help each other. So our first campaign is going to our elementary students. And with the funding through a grant through Today Incorporated, we were able to have some materials printed, which I'm going to give you a copy of. And this is going out at every back to school night. To all of the students' parents. So every parent in our elementary schools will receive this card tonight or tomorrow, depending on when their back to school is. It talks a little bit about what we are. And then on the back, you'll see where in the upper right-hand corner, we are actually focusing on our elementary. So we're going to have the teachers, they're going to say to all of the parents, we have a video directed just for elementary parents on how to talk to kids about drugs. And if you go to this link, standupneshaminy.org, they'll be able to click on it. And it's a short little link, which we're going to show a clip of. It's 6 minutes long. You will not see all 6 minutes, but it's a short clip where we brought two of our people in who are from the community to help us out with that.
Challenging world. But you might be wondering, how young is too young to begin talking to our children about substance abuse prevention?
The short answer, it is never too early to start having age-appropriate conversations with your child, years before they might face decisions about drugs, alcohol, vaping, and tobacco use. Of course, every child develops differently, and those conversations should be geared to their own personality, level of understanding, and curiosity.
If you are still uncertain about whether you need to begin talking with your preschooler or elementary school-age child about substance abuse, consider these facts. The average child takes their first drink at age 12. Inhalant abuse is commonly seen at the elementary level. Vaping is attractive to young children as the vape liquids are sold in candy and fruit flavors. Recent studies have shown that children who vape are more likely to eventually move on to tobacco cigarettes. Nicotine can prime the developing brain of a child for addiction to other substances.
1 in 4 children are exposed to some kind of drug dependence in their own families. The subject of substance abuse is unavoidable, including mentions on primetime TV shows, commercials, video games, and news reports of celebrity rehabilitation, overdoses, and deaths. Your children will eventually see these and will probably have questions about substance use and abuse, whether they choose to ask you those questions or not.
Neshaminy schools provide positive behavioral programs and age-appropriate substance abuse prevention materials at every grade level. These are valuable and vital lessons, but the fact remains that the strongest influence on young children is the adults in their lives: parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. This is why it is so important to have regular conversations with your children at their level to reinforce those lessons and let them know they can always come to you with questions and to ask advice.
That is a snippet of our elementary parent video that they will be able to link on tonight when they get home and look at that video. This is an ongoing mission that we have to continue to get new, updated, and the best information that we can get to our students, our families, and the community, and stay connected to our community through the Neshaminy Coalition for Youth, with the Middletown Township Police, and all of the local prevention specialists in our area, SEPA, as well as the recovery centers. They have all reached out and want to be part of this epidemic and help Neshaminy through this process. So I thank you all, and if you have any questions, you feel free to email me or Chris Stanley. We seem to be the two contacts on that, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Do you have meetings?
Yeah.
Are you meeting on a periodic, monthly basis, or when, if someone wants to get involved? How do
Yes,
they do that?
absolutely. We try to meet monthly around, lately it's been a 2:00 meeting, but we have talked about having an evening meeting as well. I would love to have someone from the board who would be interested in joining our group. We have administrators, teachers, parents, police, every aspect that we can put our hands around to get involved in this, so that we are getting all pieces of the pie and putting them in together and working together. But yes, we do. And we have one coming up in a few weeks. So, any other questions? Thank you, and thanks for your support.
Thanks, Jan. That brings us to the public comment section, the first public comment section of the meeting. Please approach the podium, your name, your occupation, and where you reside. Mrs. Burns?
Mr. Votis?
A new person.
Good evening. I'm Steve Rodas. I live in the Villages of Flowers Mill, and I'm basically retired, but Friday I will be spending the day at the high school as a substitute teacher. I just want to say I think this is a great start on this drug program for the district. It will bring the drug epidemic problems into the classrooms, and the students will realize what's going on in this world, and hopefully they'll stay away from painkillers and other drugs. And it's, since everybody's running for re-election, you're having more and more of the legislative people come into the schools, and where you have them as a captive audience. Once they're in, you don't let them loose till they actually do something. But I did want to talk about two items which were in the board documents. I noticed in the part about the number of students in the district, there's going to be a period a few years from now when we'll have 3,000 students in the high school. And I was wondering, can the high school accommodate 3,000 students? I don't even want to get into construction and reconstruction. A simple, can the high school accommodate 3,000 students? I know the lunchroom can't, but that's another story. At one time, I was told that we bus students to 100 other schools. Now, I don't know if that's still true. But the chart indicates that we have over 150 students bused to these schools. And it's like almost each student has their own school that they go to with accompanying transportation, obviously. So I was wondering, is it possible that parents could be convinced to send their students to schools to which we already send students and kind of carpool with our vans or other districts? Because I think, I read one time Pennsbury only sends students to 50 schools. So I don't know any longer how many schools we actually send students. But each one is, just ramps up the cost of transportation, which is already high. So thank you very much. Have a great year.
All right. Items for approval at the public board meeting. 2.01, the robotics team. 2.02, school resource officer assignment. 2.03, overnight trips. 2.04, the PSBA state elections. And they're the 4 items that are on the agenda for approval at the board meeting at the end of this month. Brings us to committee reports, business operations. Mrs. Hollenbach?
Our next business operations meeting is actually next Monday. I can't believe it already. Monday, the 17th, right here in this room at 6:30. So please join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Educational development, Ms. Boyle?
Our next meeting is going to be October the 18th, 6:30, right here in the board meeting. And the agenda will be announced. And I suggest rather strongly that if you really want to know what good things that your school district is doing, this is the committee meeting to come to.
Facilities and planning, our next meeting is September 26th at 6:30. It's actually at Hoover Elementary School. And actually, one of the items we will be discussing as a follow-up to Mr. Rodas will be getting an updated demographic study. So all are welcome. That brings us to policy. Ms. Boyle?
The next meeting will be October the 2nd, and we are going to continue to discuss the PSBA guidelines. And it's going to be 6:30 in the board meeting, and everyone is welcome.
Thank you. Neshaminy Education Foundation, Mr. Feather.
Oh, thank you. Thank you to Mr. Stanley for this summary. I appreciate that. The Neshaminy Education Foundation met on August 13th at Maple Point Middle School. The board members discussed the foundation's annual fiscal report, various upcoming fundraisers, and plans for the alumni committee this fall. NEF volunteers will be appearing at upcoming varsity football games to build interest in the alumni committee and publicize a planned social gathering at the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne on Tuesday, October 2nd, between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Any and all local alumni are invited to attend to meet friends, network, and learn about upcoming projects. The NEF will also be selling raffle tickets for 2 lower-level seats to the November 25th Eagles-Giants home game at Lincoln Financial Field. Tickets will cost $5 each and can be purchased at any school main office. The drawing will be held in early November and the winner notified by phone. Discount tickets for select Flyers and Sixers games will also be available by early September on the NEF website. A portion of each ticket sold also benefits the foundation. For more information on all foundation activities or to RSVP for the alumni gathering, please visit their website, www.neshaminy.org/NEF. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feather. PSBA liaison, Mr. Puritano.
Currently, there is not much to report. You had mentioned about the upcoming elections. There is of note one item where the PSBA is involved in a lawsuit with a former board member from Pennsbury. We, as a board, elected not to get involved in that, which I think was the smart thing to do. And in the end, the PSBA did prevail at this level, but of course, there's other levels that I'll be proceeding with. Other than that, the budget process seems to have been worked out. I don't know if the funding has been actually settled yet. That wasn't in the last report, but indications are that we're at least moving on a more steady pace than previous years. So we'll find out as time moves on. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to point out to the board it was an agenda item for a resolution for the upcoming meeting about PSBA and the state officers. There's no real selection per se. There's one person running for each spot in terms of the officers. There's some subtle selections that occur later in terms of some forums that they have. So if you want to take a look and you have an opinion on that, if you could get that to me in advance or get it to Steve. There are some, I think the default would be to pick the local people from southeastern Pennsylvania, and there are some opportunities to do that. So without any further feedback, that's what we'll do for you. So we'll prepare for you in that fashion.
Technical school, Mr. Allen.
Okay, the Tech Board met on August 27th at 7 p.m. I just have a couple quick things. This was our first meeting under the new configuration. Under the new agreement, we're down to, each school district now has 2 representatives. Neshaminy's representatives are myself and Mr. Kovitz. Joe is still our superintendent of record throughout the rest of the remainder of this year. We also, because this is an item that several of us have been discussing, there's ongoing discussions about the admissions process. We've looked over several different variants to the rubric they use as far as the admissions process, looking over the child's suitability for the tech school. Nothing's been set in stone. We're still in discussion on that. And I wanted to bring this item to the board's attention. In today's Courier today, we have a tech teacher, Jeff Cesari, who's our power equipment technology teacher, is in the semifinalist. He's one of 4 in the state of Pennsylvania and one of 52 across the country. This is Harbor Freight Tools for Schools. Was a competition, I guess, if you will, but it's to acknowledge excellence in vocational teaching. And Mr. Cesari, if he should remain a finalist, will share in $1 million cash prize to be used in the school. So I wanted to bring, I said it's in the Courier today. And also, there's a nice picture of our own Mrs. Bowman's son, Ethan. I wanted to point that out. She'll get angry if I don't. That concludes the report.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I'll do the second comment.
After second public.
Okay, this is the second public comment period. Anyone who has anything on their mind who would like to come up to the podium, please mention your name, your occupation, and where you reside.
Good evening. John McGinley. I'm the president of the Support Staff Association for the Neshaminy School District. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Mr. Jones and the board members for their kind words at the board meeting in August in support of the support staff getting the buildings cleaned and ready to go for the beginning of the school year. Many departments in the school district are shorthanded, and I reiterate that the support staff did a wonderful job in getting these buildings prepared for the upcoming school year. Last year, during the budget process, the district wish list was to purchase 12 buses, which was reduced to, I believe, 6. And in my opinion, as a 25-year member of the Transportation Department, was a mistake, as our fleet is not getting any younger. And over the last couple of years, our preventative maintenance program has been lackluster, to be kind. Also, during the budget process last year, this ACE money was found. And the ACE money was to go towards hiring 10 vans to bring back work from the IU at a realization of a cost savings to the school district. Knowing that 10 vans were being purchased, the Transportation Department hired 0 employees since the end of the last school year to the beginning of this school year. And now the realization of your full cost savings will only be a partial cost savings because those students are still being transported to the IU until a sufficient number of Neshaminy School District van drivers can be hired. In addition to the 10 van drivers that were not hired, 2 CDL qualified bus drivers retired. And at the end of the school year, 6 bus drivers were on sick leave for a variety of reasons, 3 of which have returned the beginning of the school year. And although the Neshaminy School District did not hire any bus drivers or van drivers, on almost a daily basis from the end of the school year to the beginning of the school year, bus drivers were being trained on the Neshaminy School District property in the Neshaminy School District buses with Neshaminy School District fuel for people who do not appear to be working for the school district. And that leads to the question, why are we training people with Neshaminy School District resources who are not going to be employed by the Neshaminy School District? Thank you.
Anyone else?
I did want to recognize the fact that Mr. Elliott has come out this evening. Thank you, Mr. Elliott. He is our lead teacher for technology, and Mr. Jeanette, our STEM supervisor here as well. We have a robotics item that's on the agenda. It's kind of a neat opportunity. Mr. Elliott, do you care to give a little background information on that? Thank you so much. This will be an item that the board will have an opportunity to vote on, and you'll hear from Mr. Elliott. There's some written commentary about this. The board members know a little bit, but please share.
Hello, I'm Josh Elliott, lead teacher of technology and engineering education. I also teach at the high school. Kevin this is Kevin McKay. He just moved on me, sorry. He's the coach for Ben Salem's robotics team. Kevin approached us last year, Neshaminy last year, with an offer. We have the opportunity to send students this year. Will be part of the Ben Salem robotics team, kind of like a mentorship program. We'll kind of see how that whole process works in a first robotics competition. It's kind of the varsity football of robotics, right? So it's jumping right into the big leagues of robotics. It's an opportunity for us to get students there. For me, as possible coach of the team in the future, to learn kind of the ins and outs of all the logistics of that, and for our students to interact and see kind of what that's like on a daily basis. So,
Mr. Elliott, could you explain a little bit more detail the type of robotics that they're going to be engaged in this competition with?
Sure. And maybe, you know the challenge already for the year? No. No? Okay. So, again.
Can you make it up as you go along?
I'm trying not to do that. That's why I was deferring. So again, but the idea is students will get together, they get a challenge, a competition that they actually combine with teams on the fly. And again, if I butcher something, let me know.
I can speak to it generally.
That would probably be better.
Sure.
He's in there every day doing it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kevin McKay. I'm the lead mentor at the Ben Salem High School Team 5401 robotics team, the Fighting Robotic Owls. FRC is the high school level of FIRST Robotics. They also have middle school and elementary levels. These are not Tinker Toys. These are, there's a 120-pound weight limit, not including battery and bumpers. We make them from milled aluminum that we fabricate in the shop in Ben Salem High School. There's a comprehensive safety program. This is the big leagues of academic robots, but it's flag football to battle bots. So it is not the rough and tumble destruction, but part of the mission of FIRST is to spread STEM within the community. So we're happy to offer this opportunity in the hopes that these Neshaminy students will form the foundation of a team here at Neshaminy High School in the coming years. And I think we'd be happy to answer any questions you had.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit of a tech nerd. So if I understand correctly, the robotics that you're developing, it's not a Mindstorm or Vex kit. This is
bigger.
This is completely milled, so you're designing it, you're milling it and in your shop, and then doing all the Arduinos or whatever. And all that
Yeah,
stuff,
so the Vex the Mindstorms are the little Lego kits, about yay big. The Vex would be about the size of a microwave. These, depending on the game and the restrictions for any given year, have trouble fitting in the back of the Jeep. There's usually about a 30 to 40 inch square perimeter that you have to stay within. 120 pounds is the standard weight limit. That may vary year to year. And they unveil the game the beginning of January. All we know about it now is that there is a space theme to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the moon landing.
Thank you.
I can comment on, I have a nephew who, in his school district, teaches at Perkiomen, and he's the teacher advisor, his
Psychonics.
robotics team. And
Team 103.
Is that, yeah. He's, do you know, well, I won't mention.
I don't know him, but no.
Yeah, he kind of fell into it. I mean, he teaches vocation, but he loves it. I've been out to a couple of those competitions, and I frankly, I assumed Neshaminy had one. So I'm glad to hear that we're working on one. We do now. I'm glad to hear that.
And Ben Salem is hosting a competition this year, and so you'll have the opportunity to come see one close by, and I hope you'll come out to see it.
I just want to say that I am very envious. I teach in New Jersey for a tech school. I advise their robotics team, very new to it. So I want to be you when I grow up.
Mr. McKay, thank you for being here. I do want to let the board know, as I understand, you, Ben Salem, were able to host or do something similar with Centennial, and that part of your charter is actually to do this outreach, to bring more teams on. And so it's kind of an interesting way that they go about business, in that they go to the neighboring schools and try to spread that word. And so we're fortunate to have you. We're glad that you started the program so that we're able to benefit. And our teachers will be in a little better position in the sense that they have that guidance. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Mr. Elliott, for coming out too.
Thank you. Anyone have any future topics? It brings us to the board comment section. Any board comment?
I just wanted to thank Ms. King for coming out and giving us the presentation for Stand Up Neshaminy. I think it's a great thing that we're undertaking, and I really hope that a lot of parents take the time to go to the website and everybody spreads the word, because it is an important issue. So great job to everybody on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. Jan, I'd like to thank you personally for I know how hectic the start of a school year is for a teacher. 35 years I did it myself. It's stressful. You have a thousand things going through your mind at the same time, and to be so actively involved in a program that's this important and bringing in people from the whole community, my hat's off to you and to all the people involved.
Again, I just wanted to thank Mr. Elliott, and forgive me,
Mr. McKay.
Mr. McKay from Ben Salem. I think it's awesome. I think, I'm very, I have a thing for STEM. So, I can't wait to see, I can't wait for an update on it.
Yeah. I'm very glad to see our district has taken this move with Stand Up Neshaminy. Mrs. King, I thank you for the presentation you gave tonight, and it seems you have a great group of people you're surrounded with to get this started out. It is such an issue that's it's always been an issue, but it's so prevalent in today's society. It's just exploded. It's such a multifaceted issue. No case is the same. Starting kids in elementary schools, I think that's excellent. Excellent place to start. Some of the biggest problems with children and this issue is peer pressure, social concerns, the fact that their brains are wired to be invincible and think that nothing can hurt them and they can survive anything. Sometimes they fight against themselves because of that age and what happens to them. And, this is one of those areas where you can never have too much education. And I commend you for bringing this forward and doing the hard work that needs to be done. So thank you for that. Mr. Rodas mentioned about possible future population issues at the high school. As Mr. Sullivan also mentioned, we're aware that it's time to update the demographics studies. About every 5 years is what they feel is about right to do that, and we're going to undertake that. I mean, if you just do the raw math, I mean, you can come up with 2,950 students. But, what I can say is from studying this issue over the past couple of years, first of all, it's year by year, so you don't have the same amount coming in every year and going out. And then what you have more from middle school than any other grade group is just because you have 700 kids in middle school today in 8th grade doesn't mean all 700 of those kids are going to go to Neshaminy High. You're going to have a certain percentage of drop-off. So statistically, you can make that argument. I don't think that's an issue anytime soon, but, we do understand that, staying on top of the demographics are important, and we are undertaking that to make sure that we're properly prepared for a population shift, whether it be up or whether it be down, that we're planning for that ahead of time. So, and as far as where we take people to on the bus, yeah, we deliver kids to a lot of different places, but we follow the law. The law says we're responsible to transport the kids to these schools, and that's what we do. And we do our best to make every parent think that Neshaminy is the place for their child to be. But there are some cases where some children need services that we can't provide, and there's placements for that, and there's other reasons for placements that parents have chosen for their school. So Mr. Jones and his staff, I think, are doing an excellent job, especially with the new virtual academy, being in its first year, trying to have different opportunities for all students to think Neshaminy should be their first choice. And I think as we move forward, hopefully we can convince those parents that make an active choice to go somewhere else to stay here in Neshaminy. And thank you all for a great start of the year. The buses and getting the schools ready was great. Everything was one of the smoothest openings I can remember since I was on the board. While other districts were closing, sending their kids home early, our kids were in a comfortable environment, ready to learn. And, that was just a great thing to see. I mean, I even seen reports from Boston, North Jersey, all over the southeastern area of the country, and northeastern area of the country that were having issues. And, our kids were able to be in class where they belong. So great and good job to all. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for all of your comments, your concerns. We will absolutely look into everything as best we can. Ms. King, I want to say thank you to you as well. This advocacy committee, I think, is a very good idea in our district. I hope that you will continue to keep us informed of what is going on and what ideas and what concerns come up during the course of the year, not just the school year. And if there's anything that we can do other than being involved directly, please let us know. Otherwise, thank you.
Just a couple. And I want to add my thanks to putting this group together. It's certainly, if we read the headlines, we know that this is, it's nothing short of, it's an epidemic. And I'm impressed that you had time to put this together after all your work over summer stock. I'm just, thank you. And yes, please keep us informed of how it's going and anything we can help. I want to get back to robotics, of course. And I wanted to say one of the things it's not just a club. I think it's important to, when we talk about students learning differently, I think what I enjoy about the idea of the robotics is that you can teach a kid mathematics, you can teach him physics, you can show him how to calculate stresses and material strain, but nothing beats seeing it, tasting it, feeling it, and that's what I think Robotics Club brings to the table. Plus the programming, you can sit here and type it all away, but now you actually get to see how it works in the real world. I just think there are certain students that's what they'll excel at. And that's one thing that robotics will bring to the table for a STEM student. Then I would like to also point out how thrilled I am about how well the opening went. As hot, as ungodly hot as it was, that while other districts were sending children home, we were open, doors were open, and we were doing our job. And if you continue reading the headlines, you'll see that there's other issues with aging buildings in other districts. They're dealing with mold, humidity issues, crumbling infrastructure, and I just can't reiterate that we finally got to it and we got it done. And, think of where we would be had we not addressed that. So I want to leave it at that. And again, I'd bring up the loss of the football last weekend, but it's painful, so. That was for me.
Well, not to be the odd person out, I would like to thank Mrs. King for her presentation tonight. Stand Up Neshaminy, it's a good effort on our part. I mean, addiction is no doubt a equal opportunity offender. And I heard years ago about, Yale to jail. It gets everyone. And so anything we could do to educate our children, our parents, everyone else, it's only going to help. Thank you. And at that point, I think I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting. All in favor? I need a second. Second, Mr. Puritano. All in favor? Aye. Motion closed.